G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a service rifle as part of the PBW A Service Pack, which is a weapon mod pack that adds a lot of familiar weapons from Fallout New Vegas into Fallout 4, including the Assault Carbine and the Marksman Carbine, along with the service rifle like you see before you. There's also a couple of unique variants. I'll show you how to get those a little bit later, but the service rifle and the Assault Carbine, they're both injected into the level list post level 20. You'll find them on level 20 and above enemies and find them in vendors at that level, which indicates about a mid to high level sort of damage output from these things, at least from the time they're spawning in, which is pretty good. We'll probably get this to punch a little bit above its weight later on, but so far the signs are pretty nice. The damage here is actually quite good, and even the BB gun is getting 173 damage somehow on a non-listed ammo type, so I don't know how that's going to go down, whether we'll be using that at all. Not really sure, but we'll get into the customization. A couple of notes: this thing uses the handmade rifle animations and sounds, so obviously that means you're going to need Nuka World to get this thing to work properly, but that means the animations are not as advanced as we've seen with other assault service rifle mods. Assault rifle, I guess, mods still applies here, but in terms of its aesthetics, I feel like this is a lot closer to the New Vegas incarnation of a service rifle and Assault Carbine that we've got from any of the super high quality mods like the ones you'll see for Fallout 4 New Vegas, for example. So I can appreciate their aesthetics for what they are, because I feel like they've just been ripped straight from the game but tuned up a little bit to suit Fallout 4's art style. They've done a really good job with that, I think. Anyways, let's get to customization. So the service rifle, this thing in New Vegas is a semi-auto thing only, so I'm thinking if we throw a scope on this, we'll be able to make it a sniper and get used to that, a sniper knockdown. So we'll throw up the best receiver we can possibly put on this, which chambers it and throw away. It'd be cool if it'd be something like a 12.7mm rechamber to have a reference to the dude who lived in Zion, who wrote a diary. What's his name? The Survivalist, but no such thing. Right now I've got a standard barrel. You can shorten that down to have better AP cost, or lengthen that to increase your range and accuracy in VATS over range. Worse AP cost, but we're going to be sniping with this thing anyway, so that's the way to go with this. And there's a whole bunch of stocks, including a strip stock. You'll probably find that in the hand of raiders. Weighted stock adds a bunch of metal plates to it. Maybe it's good for not burning your fingers off. Range stock is interesting because it's all padded and it's got this sort of cheek rest here. Light stock is a interesting one because obviously we're using the handmade rifle animations. It's got to have the animation set for the handguard of the more AK-esque weapons that you'd get from the handmade rifle. So you'll find that some of these handguards are a little bit lopsided, but there's also a shielded one which I think is really cool because it's got the heat shield on the barrel there, so you don't burn your fingers. So there's practicality points here as well as aesthetical. There's also a sniper stock which won't increase your range or range. It'll increase your accuracy a little bit. Also add this bipod at the front, which it's an interesting looking look, but I think the shielded stock is the best looking stock of them all. We'll forego a little bit of extra weight and extra accuracy for the aesthetics of the shielded version. We can throw in the biggest magazine here. Extended quick eject. We'll go that one. Next up, we've got sights. Now, you can't actually remove the carry handle here, so if you put a scope on it, it does kind of look funky. There's also a laser sight on the top, which I guess means that you don't actually aim down the sights at all. You just get a slight zoom in, like CSGO, I suppose, but that's interesting. It looks like a big shark fin on the top of the gun. That's I don't know if I like that or not. It makes the weapon look more like a sort of a spaceship, like a Star Wars spaceship. I don't really know what's going on there, but I feel like that's kind of cool. I think a medium scope will suit our purposes for this thing well, being a sort of a medium range sniper type weapon, which we can get rounds out really quickly, get lots of sniper knockdowns, and we're going to throw a suppressor on this that'll reduce our range. There's also options of a night vision scope and recon scope as well, which is nice, but we'll throw on the suppressor next. There we go. 233 damage. Wonderful. Lovely. That's some good damage. I think we can get some good work out of this. Legendary effect is there if needed. I don't think we'll need it. Next up, we've got the Assault Carbine. This one is automatic only, but you can up-chamber it into a 5.56mm receiver to increase its damage from 45 to 120, which is a massive increase. Love it. Let's change that to a long barrel. Doesn't change the handguard length, only the barrel, so it sort of still looks like an M4 in a way. Next up, we've got the stock, which is basically sort of what you get the same. The gunner stock there adds a lot of Eastern-looking weapon. That's like an RPD, a handguard, and a PKM stock right there. That's cursed. There's also infantry and also LMG stocks as well. This one's sort of got that metal heat thing. I was going to say heat sink, but that's not how guns work. Heat shield on there. So that looks cool. That looks like it'd be good for a bunch of sustained fire. You can have this box magazine as well. That'll increase your ammo capacity to the best. And seeing as it's already sort of set as an LMG in terms of its barrel, we'll throw on the box magazine to get the most shots before we have to reload. That's nice. Alright, so we can throw some reflex sights on this, which, without removing the handguard, kind of look funky, but in terms of VATS accuracy, or rather AP usage, that's probably the best option. There's also options for scopes as well, so if you want to do some long-range sniping, if this thing doesn't kick that much, you can totally get away with that, by the way, but we'll leave that as a reflex sight for now for a close range sort of playstyle, and a suppressor will increase our damage even further through the use of Ace Operator. Decreases our range, but we'll just have to wear that as we go along. We've also got a legendary effect on this one as well. Next up, Marksman Carbine. You've got an option for a muzzle brake, or you can take the muzzle brake off, and once that muzzle brake is gone, she's not coming back. But that's fine, because we get extra range out of this thing. It also has, I think that's Degenerate Dax ACOG scope on the top, which looks great. Good stuff. Guaranteed delivery, same thing goes here. You can remove this muzzle brake. Your recoil will be worse, but we get extra range. That's good. And this one also has a compensator. We can take that off if we want to. For a toy gun, it'd be cool if the compensator was colored bright orange to, you know, signify that this is not a real firearm like in real life. But nope, that's just a standard sort of colored compensator. Gone now anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. And there we have it. That's all the customization. Let's talk about getting these things, and then we'll get started. Alright, so we have quite the shopping list of things to get to. So we'll start off here at Clear in Good Neighbor, and we'll see what we can find. Bingo, there is a service rifle. Looks like a service rifle I haven't used before, so yep, that's it. Second on the list to get is the Marksman Carbine, which you'll find in the South Boston Military Checkpoint, which is located just here. For reference, the castle is right over there, so it should be easy enough to find. And as you get near it, you'll get this annoying PA announcement that loops forever, and it's annoying, and you'll know that it's there. And you'll find the Marksman Carbine just sitting in the trash can like that, which I think is doing a disservice to what the Marksman Carbine is capable of, but that's where you'll find it. The next location brings me to the combat zone, which is where you'll get Kate, the companion in the vanilla game, so probably shouldn't need to specify where this is exactly, but there it is on the map. Diamond City is just over there, so just go in an easterly direction and you'll find it, and you'll find the guaranteed delivery on this guy's corpse, which is a matte black painted service rifle with the penetrating legendary effect, firing the 44 Magnum rounds, doing 211 damage, which is fairly impressive, and some ammo on him as well. And perhaps a little bit of a reference to Courier 6 from Fallout New Vegas, but I don't know what that game is. The last location we need to find the unique weapons is here at Walden Pond, which is just south of Concord, a very low-level area, low risk to any new players. However, clumsy soul survivors without the light step perk need to tread carefully in here, because this place is trapped up to the wazoo. So we'll just quickly go through here, and you'll find on the table this Ablin Kid BB Gun GI Fantasy Rifle box, which is like a BB gun but in the form of a service rifle to give to your children in the form of a military propaganda. This thing currently is in a box state. We'll have to get it on a chemistry workbench to craft the weapon out of it, but if you can't see this thing or it's been thrown across the room and you've got scrapper rank 2, you can either highlight wood or nuclear material, and the weapon or the box will be highlighted, and you can grab this thing by seeing it across the floor or something, you know, just make it easy to see if you lose track of it somehow. But it's a white box, easy to find. We'll take it to a chemistry workbench and we'll get our BB gun. okay with box in hand, and make sure during the transit you don't drop it off to any other settlement on the way or scrap it for some other thing. You can craft this thing just with the box like that, no ranks required, and it'll give you this little preview of, hey, you've just got a legendary weapon, which sometimes this crashes the game if you do this within a chemistry station menu. Hopefully it doesn't, but as you can tell, there's no ammo listed for this thing, so I might be missing a prerequisite mod to actually get this to work. I might just double check that, but there you go. We've got a compensator. It's also got the lucky legendary effect. Maybe it's got some sort of enhanced version of the lucky legendary effect where the crits will do slightly more than double, but we'll have to see how we go with Righto, so we're at the Immersive Gunners Plaza once again, and this is the service rifle, one of them that I've created. I've got like 7 of these in my inventory right now, but this is the standard one that I made with a scope and a suppressor on it, firing the 308 rounds, and the reload animation looks like that. You can just tell there's just that little bit of a magazine rock-in when it comes to reloading this thing. So it's got the handmade animations, but I'm thinking that sound right there is just the standard vanilla suppressed assault rifle, which I think works pretty well, and there's not a lot of recoil, and the rate of fire on this thing is going to be sufficient enough that we can use this as a pretty good marksman rifle in and of itself before we actually start using the marksman carbine. Here is the first assault carbine that I made with the reflex sight, using more of the vanilla sounds from the assault rifle. Very little recoil on this thing as well, which is good, and the spread doesn't seem to be too bad either, which is nice. The LMG version, of course, I think looks aesthetically pleasing. This one here is a loud and proud version with a laser sight, which, as I expected, you don't actually aim with the sights at all. You just sort of move in, and then you've got a dot projected in the middle of the screen, so you know, if you don't like sights getting in your way, then you can have less of that, I suppose. Just aim in the middle of the screen and you'll be okay. This one, same thing, loud and proud, but with a slightly different barrel setup, of course. That is most definitely assault rifle sounds there. And we've got the Marksman Carbine next up. Assault rifle sounds once again, 20 round magazine, and the scope is not a see-through version, that's just a standard sort of TV scope. But I think that's good enough. I actually really like the model that they've made here. It's a shame that the this thing is just a one-off drop weapon. I feel like a little bit of customization really would have brought this thing a little bit more life, and maybe pending future mod updates that'll happen, but I feel like they could do a little bit more with this. The Marksman Carbine, I think, is one of the more underrated weapons, perhaps because it gets overtaken by other things. And what else have I got? Number 6, this is the guaranteed delivery, complete with the penetrating legendary effect. Shoots a 44 Magnum rounds and has the 44 Magnum sounds. Makes sense to me. And lastly, we've got the BB gun, which just crashes the game, so we won't be using that one. Alright, so enough time has been spent at this point looking at the weapons. How do they perform in a field of combat? Well, let's find out. So we'll start off with our sniping variant here, and we'll try to pick off that little bastard that's aggroing all the gunners. We've also got a mantis over here. Spinny little bastard, might be hard to hit. But we've got the rate of fire to back up some pretty good accurate shots. Now, using this method of sort of medium range sniping, we can get a lot of good DPS out, and if we're lucky enough to get a sniper knockdown throughout all of this, that'll just stop them in their tracks. So far I haven't seen one proc just yet, but there we go, there's one. That gunner is totally down and out for a second, so you can sort of use that to juggle away enemies, and that was odd. I feel like I would have hit all of those. There we go. So yeah, we're not getting like perfect 1,000 damage from that back there, but of course this thing is firing well above its sort of range stats. That's fine. There we go. There's a nice little knockdown there, and I guess as they come closer, we may as well, before they start flanking me, we'll open up with the automatic version of this, which this thing is not going to fight me at all. This thing's going to be nice and docile in my hands, and provided the gunners aren't moving around all that much, I can easily just hold the crosshair directly on them and get stuck on some scenery. Love that. It just doesn't happen to bots, it happens to me as well. But yeah, if I just zero in, aim for the head, the recoil is not going to push that crosshair off it, and it just feels like a dream to use. It's like stepping in the SS Commodore after driving the piece of shit Falcon work car all week. It just feels nice to use. It's got the power where you need it, and it's not going to fight you in order to get that off. It's brilliant. I love it. Next gun, we'll switch over back to the Loud and Proud variant. Now, for the animations in terms of the semi-auto handmade, when you're using the sights on this thing, you'll find that the sights sort of have this animation where they'll sort of kick up, and it's not super pleasant to deal with. But if you use the laser sight, you can sort of bypass that entirely. So I feel like that's a pretty good choice, using a laser sight for a semi-auto version. But if you don't like the recoil animation at all, just hit them in third person. You'll do enough damage to them to keep them nice and staggered. The weapon's not going to want to fight you. That crosshair can stay firmly planted on your enemy's head, and you can get headshots provided your aim is sharp. Love to see that. Next up, unsuppressed version of the Assault Carbine. Good old-fashioned vanilla assault rifle sounds. It works. It works pretty well. Gotta be a little bit careful about how we engage our next few gunners, because the health pool is getting a little bit low at this point. You can definitely tell that these DPS models are generally about the same-ish. Like, I feel like the time to kill is a lot... I feel like the time to kill is actually quite similar between these weapons, and obviously the ammo expenditure for the... Oh, look, they're engaging the behemoth. That's cute. The ammo expenditure on the versions that are automatic will obviously be a lot higher, of course, but obviously less punishing on missed shots as compared to the semi-auto version, which you got to wait for a longer time for a follow-up shot for that one. So I don't really have much of a problem with this thing's balance. It's not like the reload time is going to stop me from getting a good DPS anyway, so yeah, that's pretty nice. We'll switch over to the Marksman Carbine now. Sorry, this is guaranteed delivery. And like I was talking about before with the sort of the weird animations where the muzzle will sort of kick up. What was that? It's got a random flash of blood on the screen. Did I stub my toe on a rock or something? That causes pain, I suppose. But what I wanted to do is get out the... There we go. There's a Marksman Carbine. We should have a pretty good time with this thing. The fire rate is pretty much the same, but this thing's going to punch a little bit harder. It's slightly less of a zoom in of the scope that we had on our 308 chambered service rifle. And would you stop dancing for just one moment, please? One thing I don't usually comment about in terms of weapon mods is hipfire accuracy. This thing seems to be quite fine in terms of hipfire accuracy, which is sort of pleasant. Sort of dependable accuracy no matter how you shoot it, which is a nice thing to have. It feels like the weapon doing damage is more based on my ability to hit stuff rather than the weapon's damage itself, which, look, there's been problems that I've had with in terms of DPS and damage when it comes to utilizing the PBW series of weapons, but I feel like they've nailed it here. They've hit it out of the park. I'm much enjoying using this rifle. Also hitting that gunner for 69 as she backed into a wall, unable to get out. I think that was funny. That guy's got a cloaked face. That's kind of scary. We'll move back over to... Oh, that's like a stealth toothbrush stealth boy sort of thing. Sponsored by Colgate. Just in time. So things are going pretty well. I'm going to switch back over to the suppressed version now. I think the suppressed assault carbine, the LMG with the massive magazine on it, is definitely the most effective and fun way to use this. Subjectively speaking, of course, but overall it's a pretty good deal. Like, you get 3 guns at a favorable size on your hard drive. Little baby gunner trying to attack me. You just sit down, buddy. I haven't used this thing in VATS all that much yet, so let's open up here. Hitting for over 150 in VATS, I can get around that. Very nice. And we've only got 1 door breach left. It sort of struck the balance where I don't feel like I'm crushing everything with it, but the game's not, you know, being a grind to shoot through all of these gunners either. They've done a pretty good job, and whether that's just because, I don't know, they felt like this thing needed to be slightly more powerful than what vanilla guns can offer, or how they've done it, then I'm not sure. But I'm thinking off the top of my head, I think the damage for the assault rifle is 128, which we're getting a lot more, especially for this one, for a semi-auto suppressed rifleman base weapon. It's some pretty good damage, and I'm actually enjoying my time with this thing. We'll shoot a monster, we'll kill him good, and then we'll finish off. Righto, so the plan here is just to snipe at Swan, constantly knocking him down with sniper rank 2, and then hosing him down whilst he's down with an automatic suppressive variant. Right now he's currently attacking some, I think that's Rust Devils down there, but that does not make him immune to my abilities of knocking him down, but that does make him immune to my sneak criticals, so something's got to give over here, and it's going to be that guy, but not yet, because he's, he just got knocked down and is completely immune to my fire doing that. Alright, so now we back off. He's knocked down, so we'll hose him down a little bit. Just can't really get an angle on him, unfortunately. We can hit him just outside of this thing's effective range for only 24 apiece, which is not super good, so we'll let him come a little bit closer. There we go. The sneak criticals are back on. That's him knocked down again. And hose him down. 182 damage at this fire rate is going to chop him down very, very quickly here. That's him going ahead and knocked down again. We've still got plenty of rounds in this thing. We'll probably pop a reload, then switch back to our semi-auto one. Knock him down again, and sort of juggle infinitely here. Maybe one more knockdown. Switch over to automatic, please. Hit him up. That might be our final burst here. And look how accurate that is. I'm not missing anything from this range. Granted, he's a gigantic target, of course, but it's just so nice and easy to hit the target with this thing. It's so pleasant. It's a very pleasant weapon to use. It's just so relaxing. Let's hit some criticals here just to add insult to injury. I'm seeing 314 with the criticals, which is pretty massive. Whether that's all the damage added up or whether that's almost 900 or almost 1,000 damage per critical burst, I'm not sure, but there we go. The job is done, and I think that is about it for the service pack. So I think this is by far the best PBW mod that I've looked at on this channel. They've struck the balance well here. The weapon is fun to use. The sounds and that are of the vanilla game, so they're good. The sounds are fine, and the animations, they've been worked in from the handmade rifle pretty well, and they've done some sort of eloquent things with the handguards on these to make it all fit well. So I think it's a pretty faithful recreation with a little bit of extra customization from Fallout 4. So if you're looking out for another lightweight service rifle mod that isn't going to fill up your hard drive and be injected onto the leveled list of every gunner from here to bloody Zimonja Outpost, then check out this mod. Highly recommend it downloaded. If you're interested, check out the link in the description. It shall be down there. Thank you very much for watching, guys.